We're all living inside networks. That's pretty obvious. But what if there are two completely different kinds of networks, pulling us in totally opposite directions? One, a massive system of external technological control, and the other, a deeply personal biological signal that wants to change how we see reality itself.
So, let me ask you something. How do you think the world shapes you? Is it like you're being stamped out by a cookie cutter, poured into a rigid mold at school or at work? Or is it something a little more fluid? Something more like a constant flowing current that's always nudging you, always adjusting you? That's the big question we're diving into today.
Okay, let's tackle that first network, the one that works on us from the outside in. And for this, our guide is the philosopher Gilles Deleuze. Back in 1990, he wrote this short essay that was, frankly, way ahead of its time. He basically saw where things were headed and said, hey everyone, the way power works in society is changing completely. He called this new system the society of control.
Now, to really get what Deleuze was talking about, you have to know who he was building on. Another giant of philosophy, Michel Foucault. Foucault's idea was the disciplinary society. Just picture the old world, right? Life was a series of boxes. You go from the family box, to the school box, to the factory box. And in each box, society tries to shape you, to mold you into a specific kind of individual. But Deleuze looked around and said, nope, that's not how it works anymore. The walls are coming down. Now control is out in the open. It's everywhere, all the time. And you're not an individual anymore. You're what he called a dividual. You're divisible, a collection of data, passwords, and user profiles that can be endlessly sorted and managed.
And that brings us to the absolute keyword for this whole idea: modulation. See, a mold creates a finished object. Clunk, you're done. But modulation is totally different. It's like a signal that's constantly being tweaked. Think about your credit score, or endless corporate training, or the personalized ads that follow you everywhere. It's not about making you into a final product. It's about keeping you in a state of constant, unending adjustment. You are never, ever finished.
And Deleuze just nails how this feels in the real world with this quote. He saw that the modern corporation, not the old factory, is the perfect engine for this system. In the factory, you had solidarity, us against the bosses. But the corporation is smarter. It uses constant modulation, performance reviews, sales targets, that whole healthy competition thing, to make us all compete with each other. It turns us into rivals. It even makes us compete with ourselves, always trying to beat our personal best. It divides us from everyone else, and it divides us inside our own heads.
So what's the engine driving this whole society of control? What's the machine that makes it all possible? Yep, the computer. And you have to remember, he wrote this in 1990, before the web was really even a thing. He saw that the networked computer was the perfect tool for this new kind of fluid, pervasive control. It's the thing that tracks us, sorts us, and modulates us 24/7. It's building an invisible cage all around us, a cage made of pure data.
Okay, so that's the external network, a vast, invisible system of digital control. But what if there's another network? A different kind of signal entirely. To find it, we have to do a complete 180. We're leaving the world of French philosophy and we're heading deep, deep into the Amazon jungle.
Picture this. It's 1971. We're in La Chorrera, Colombia, way off the grid, in the heart of the Amazon basin. And there's a small group of friends there, including a guy who would become a counterculture legend, Terence McKenna. They weren't just tourists. They were on a mission. They were searching for a certain kind of knowledge, a knowledge they believed was hidden inside the psychedelic plants of the jungle.
And McKenna's first contact with this other network, it wasn't some big, planned ceremony. He was just walking through a pasture, saw some psilocybin mushrooms, and on a whim, he ate one, and bam. He said the world just shifted. He described it as a silent thunder rolling through the air, and suddenly everything around him was glowing with an intense meaning and significance. This wasn't a signal from a computer or a corporation. This signal was coming from the earth itself.
But that first taste, that was just the opening act. As McKenna and his brother went deeper with their experiments, the experiences got a whole lot weirder and way more structured. It stopped feeling like they were just taking a drug. It started to feel like something was talking back.
And what was it saying? Well, it was pretty mind-blowing. Certain themes just kept popping up, again and again. They felt like they were in contact with some kind of hyper-intelligent entity, something ancient and definitely not human. This presence showed them things, visions of UFOs, new ways of understanding time itself.
It was like they had stumbled upon an organic information network, a technology made not of silicon, but of consciousness.
But here's the really wild part. The communication wasn't straightforward like downloading a file. It was strange. It was playful, filled with jokes and paradoxes, what Mechanic called an absurd element. It was so bizarre you couldn't just write it off as a simple hallucination. Years later, he found a fascinating parallel in the work of UFO researcher Jacques Vallée, who pointed out that the most compelling contact stories are often the most absurd ones, the ones that refuse to fit into any neat little box.
All right, so let's pull the camera back now and bring these two massive networks back together. On one side, you've got this system of external technological control. On the other, an internal biological signal of consciousness. And the thing is, these aren't happening on different planets. They are happening right here, right now. We are all living in the overlap, in that strange, crackling space where these two realities collide. And this is really the conflict of our time, isn't it? Every single day, we're being pinged and prodded by that external network. Our phones, our jobs, our data profiles are all trying to modulate our behavior to make us predictable. But at the same time, we have access to this other, internal network, the one that's all about perception, meaning, and consciousness. We're living in the tension between the signal that tells us how to behave and the one that tells us how to see.
So let's just break it down one last time. The external network, its vehicle is the computer. Its goal, to modulate your behavior. It breaks you down into data. The internal network, its vehicle in this story is the mushroom. Its goal, to modulate your perception. It wants to show you a deeper, more unified reality. One system runs on a logic of management. The other runs on a logic of mystery.
And that leaves us with one final, and maybe the most important question. We've built this entire world, this society of control, that's designed to manage and direct everything. So, what happens when a signal from a completely different network manages to break through all that static? A signal that doesn't want to tell you what to do, but wants to fundamentally change how you see everything. What then?